Berger from K.N.B Effects Group, Inc., located in beautiful Van Nuys, California. You're here visiting the place where we made all the creatures, all the scary things, all the horrifying things, and even a little bit cheesy things for Xena, Warrior Princess. Hey, so don't look at that thing. That's not from Hercules or Xena. Come on in here, though. This is the foam room. What the guys are doing back here, this is our foam running team. Ben, Steve, and Derek. They're actually injecting this foam rubber, which is this crazy liquid. It's the big giant syringe, and they're injecting into molds. And that's how we get the foam rubber into the mold. So basically, they mix this stuff up. It's like a series of 4 different chemicals that are whipped up into this big vat. And once it's ready, they stick it into these injectors, and there's injection tubes and extrusion holes and all that fun stuff. So you can see this is the foam coming out, and it releases the air. As stuff comes out, they plug it up with clay so that it fills all the way to the top. Isn't that exciting? But this is, everything has to come through here in order for us to have pieces that we end up applying on set. And we can mix the foam in any different color. This creature has black skin, so I wanted to start with a black base. Sometimes when we're doing skin-colored things, there's different tints that the guys put in, be it flesh, be it green, be it blue, really any color we want. But this time it's black. So these guys, this is all they do. They run these foam appliances over and over again. And I'll tell you, these are some of the most skilled, talented guys we ever found at a gas station. It's pretty amazing, to tell you the truth. We tried at other places, but the gas station was the place to go. It had to do with the tires and the pumping and this thing.
My legs! My legs! What happened to my legs?
Next to centaurs, mermaids are the suckiest things to have to make. The problem with mermaids are that they have to be in the water. They have to be on people. They have to be functional, and they have to look aesthetically pleasing. So, you know, you're pretty much tied into the fish look. So what we did is we brought the actors in, and we taped their legs together, and we did life casts of them, plaster bandage casts, and produced fiberglass forms that we then went ahead and sculpted these tails on. As you can see, all the scales have been hand cut, one by one, into the sculpture. And basically, we brought the actor in and had them, you know, tape their legs together and did a body cast off of them and ran that in fiberglass. We've done a lot of different mermaids in the past, and there's different materials to use. There's silicones, there's urethanes, there's foam rubber, all that fun stuff. And on this guy, we ended up using foam rubber, and I think that worked out very, very well. It has its, you know, pros and cons, but the big thing is it just was easy to glue down. It was easy to maintain. Though it absorbed water, we were able to squish the water out in between takes, but it also helped because it sank, where when we did silicone tails in the past, that they were so buoyant, we could not get them down. We ended up having to put weights in the tips of the tails. This is Tammy Lane, who's worked with me forever and ever, and she went on to do Lord of the Rings with Richard Taylor at Weta for a number of years. But Tammy was working for me at this time, and I got her to get into the pool, slide on a tail, and try it out. You know, our first test. The fin area, the webbing stuff, was actually like a silk that we found that worked pretty well. So this is all unpainted. This is a first swing at it to see what works, but it's a heck of a workout. I mean, Tammy really had to get her legs pumping to make this all happen, and it was pretty exhausting for her and very exhausting for the actors on set. But you know, mermaids are difficult. It's always tough to get away from like the anatomy of a human being. You know where the person's leg or knee joints are, and try to kind of like get away from that can be very difficult. And I think it's a matter of how you treat the bottom of the tail where the fin is, trying to elongate and just kind of make it feel a little more organic and not so tied to a human being's body. Probably the best mermaid, like practical mermaid, I think it was done in Splash, which was years and years ago on Daryl Hannah. And you know, what we had to do is we carefully blended these onto people. But I asked Daryl when I worked with her before how they glued the tail down, and she said they super glued it.
So this is where we do a lot of the seaming. What seaming is, I'll be more specific. This is Marion. What she's doing is, when we get a foam piece out, there's always some sort of edge that runs across it, which we have to pluck off carefully, and then it has to be patched and the detail work back in, because we're dealing with multi-piece molds. So what's happening is this is foam rubber, the foam rubber we saw them run in there. and the seam has been trimmed away, and then there's been foam rubber added to that that's now being retextured. Once that's done, that'll be put back into the oven and baked out, so that we have the whole thing, it looks like it's all one piece, you don't see a seam or anything like that. So that's what's happening here. It's very time consuming, very painstaking, and by the way, these are all not real. I put all these tattoos on, they actually come right off.
And who could forget little baby Ro?
This episode was actually kind of a fun one building. We were responsible for this character, Baby Ro, which is Renee's character's little squid baby, and it was really cool. It was a great design. It was designed by Shannon Shea and sculpted by Gino Crognoli right there, who's painting it up. And it was a full mechanical guy. It did so much stuff. It had head movement and blinked and all these tentacles, and he was really, really cool. He was a member of the family and on the show, and we have these other characters, Urchin Boy, and it's Mark Tavares sculpting little head appliance that the Urchin Boy wore.
What's a sphincter?
Bring it on in, Ben. Good job. There we are. This is Ben. Ben's our main foam runner. After the foam has been run and placed into here, it's all strapped up, so it's super tight as we can get it, because that's what creates our edge. So I'm gonna help Ben here. So now what we're doing is carefully moving the molds to their baking position, which are on these big giant racks. And we bake this at about 165 degrees for about 6 hours or so, depending on what the mold is. And after that, in the morning, Ben will come in and grab all these molds, move them out, then pop them in the foam with the other guys, and we'll have finished pieces that are just right. There. Why don't we fire it up? Let's get that up to 165 degrees. Why, I think that'll be just swell.
You know, I was originally supposed to be in an episode of Xena, but I got cut out. Little Bird told me so. It's gonna be great. Me and Gabrielle were gonna be in this one scene where,
Hey, this is the mechanical department, and actually what I'm operating is this cable-operated Raven we did for a film. There's different ways we go about mechanizing things. This is one, which is hard cable, which is where you have pull this and do this and things move. But we also have radio-controlled things, which are really great to do. Take a look and see. So this is what we were talking about regarding radio control. This is Jeff Edwards, who's one of our mechanics, and Jeff actually has a transmitter, a radio transmitter, similar to like what you would have with model airplanes or model cars and so forth. And inside this head is servos, which look similar to this. And basically there's a little receiver, and it gives the signal from there to here, telling it to move which way and what. This is for a simple eye, or not a simple, a complicated eye mechanism. But what Jeff's done is I've asked him to create something that's really tight to the head. So this is just a simple blink mechanism that we kind of came up with. It's very prototyped, but it works really, really well, and it will work for what this creature needs. So, but what's nice is it has tracking eyelids. This is what Jeff's doing, which means tracking eyelids is not just opening and closing or blinking, but it actually makes it appear like the black orb, because this creature will probably have just a black eye. It's moving around because the eyelid is tracking and giving the illusion that the eyeball is moving around. Very good, look at that. And it makes a lot of noise on set, which annoys the sound guys, but this time I think it's all right. Good job, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
The mechanical puppet we built for Baby Ro was really superb. It was masterminded by Dave Wogan, Luke Conley, and it did a lot of stuff. As you can see, it had blinks and eye movement and brows and lips. It could smile, it could raise its brows, it could frown, and it really had a large variety. Plus, it had all these tentacles. It had 8 tentacles that flapped around. Also, the top of it, the crust of its head could flip back and forth, and it really did a tremendous amount of things. I mean, when I saw the final shot, I was fairly disappointed because I didn't feel that they utilized it properly. It seemed like they almost used, every take they used was when they yelled cut, and the thing just stopped moving, and that's what they used. But it was a character in itself and was extremely expressive, and we can get it to do anything we wanted. It took, I think, 4 or 5 people to operate. You can see the guys in the background doing all the cable-operated stuff, but all the facial stuff was radio-controlled. The eyes and lids were one thing, and the brows and the lips, and the top of the head was radio-controlled as well. But it could really do a large thing. The eyes were all custom-made. It was, like I had stated before, designed by Shannon Shea and sculpted by Gino Crognoli, who also was responsible for sculpting and finishing off Echidna. So, we had these tentacle mechanisms, and these are like smaller versions of what we did for like some of the other characters, like Echidna's arms are similar to this, her mechanical arms. The director of this movie, his name is Paul, was second unit director on Hercules and Xena. And this was actually the worst rated show of all the Xenas and Hercules. Although for Renee, it was Renee's like big episode because it was all about Renee. And of course I always wanted best for her because she's a wonderful woman. But and Baby Roe was cool. But I think he ended up getting disassembled and being used on a movie called The Faculty that we had done with Robert Rodriguez. So Baby Roe still lives on, but in another form as a horrible, squiddly beast somewhere else.
Hello. We're in the hair room right now, and this is where we make all the wigs and all the hair pieces, like this one I'm wearing right now. I know it looks real, but it's not really my hair. Very luxurious. Anyhow, what happens here is that these talented young lads are ventilating, what's called ventilating, which is where they take a hair and they tie it individually into the lace, like this, lace front. See that? That's lace front. Or into spandex for like some of the suits. So it's actually a lot of hard work. Why don't we take a look? Ron is ventilating a piece right now, and you can see each hair is tied one by one. It's very difficult and very time-consuming, just like everything in the makeup effects business. Then over here, this is what Jack's doing, is regarding tying into spandex. So what we've done is, this is for one of the suits we're working on for this film. This is a spandex suit that's been painted with fabric paints, and Jack is tying hair by hair into this. And this entire suit, think of a full body that's completely covered in hair. It's a lot of work as well. Here's our head full of mustaches, different mustaches, so we can disguise ourselves. It's very nice. But, it takes quite a bit of time. A wig, to ventilate a wig, can take about a week and a half. To do a mustache could be about a day, 2 days.
Right now I'm building, it's a foundation for a goatee. So you have to make pleats in the lace here.
On Xena and Hercules, we did a lot of hair tying. There's a tremendous amount of wig work in that show, a lot of facial hair work. Well, I think we got it covered. I'm going to take my wig off. See? Look, back to the old Howard. I'm going to hand this off to Justin. Justin, there's your hairpiece.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. There you go. Hey, we're going to go into my office next, which is really fun-filled. It's the room I always wanted when I was a kid, and now that I'm older, I can get it. So here is my office. I love my office. It's filled with stuff. Most people think it's junk, but I love it. So this is my room. So let's go to another fun room, the conference room, which has cool stuff all over the place. So let's go look. Come on. My very first job, I was in high school, actually. My dad was working with Disney, and he had a producer friend there who was doing a Halloween show. And they needed like a talking pumpkin puppet made. So my dad said, hey, my son can do that. He does makeup stuff. So they hired me, and I made this talking pumpkin. I was probably 14 years old. Again, my mom dropped me off at the Disney lot, and I walked on with my puppet thing. I went and got a pumpkin, carved it out to what they wanted, molded it, ran a foam one, hollowed it out, made a hand puppet out of it, put a light in there so it looked like it was glowing. And occasionally still Disney will run that special. Like they'll use pieces of that stuff, the puppeteer pumpkin, in like their new Halloween specials. And it's always kind of funny. I'm like, that's my first paying job. I think I made $150. But the fact was that to me that was $1 million. And I just remember having my hand in there puppeteering it, and the light bulb kept hitting my hand and burning my hand, just because I didn't think, to protect my hand or what have you. But doing this whole talking puppet thing, and they liked it, and like I said, they used it over and over again. Before we started K.N.B effects, we worked at different shops. Like I started off working for this guy named John Beekler, who used to do a lot of Charlie Band horror films, Troll, things like that, Ghoulies. Then I ended up getting a job working for Stan Winston, who was another childhood idol of mine. I mean, Stan was another guy who let me come into his shop when I was a kid and critiqued my stuff and was really, really, really supportive. Then I worked for a series of people. I mean, I really went through the gambit. I worked for almost everybody I could. And I worked for about 5 years, 5 or 6 years in the industry. And then at a certain point, we all decided, Greg Nicotero, who's the N, and Bob Kurtzman, who's the K, decided, you know what, we're tired of working for people, other people. We're supervising for all these guys. We're not making any money. We're not getting any of the credit. Let's stop working for people and let's start our own company. There's a lot of different guys that work here and they do a lot of different things, but here at K.N.B, we really look for people that are well-rounded.
Yeah, this sculpture is a personal sculpture. K.N.B allows us to work on a lot of our own stuff, and this is for a benefit for abused children. Has nothing to do with the effects realm, but these guys are cool enough to let us work on our personal projects here. The best bosses I think I've ever had.
You know, when we got brought on to Xena, I mean, what was interesting is we were there doing Herc, and Rob said, I'm doing this show, Xena. We don't have any money. And at that time, Xena was like I don't want to say the bastard show, but the crew was like, I'm not working on Xena. We're on Herc, I'm on Herc. So I never felt that way. I'd do anything. Plus, when I saw Lucy, I just went, I love her. And I said, I'll work on Xena in a second. So the first thing we did was the episode with the giant bird, Prometheus. And we did it pieces. Like most of the bird was CGI, but we did a maquette that the CGI guys utilized. And we did giant claws, and we did a whole big section of the bird, actually, that Xena was riding, that then they comped in. And it was just foam fabricated, really, really simple. But, you know, that was our first venture into Xena world. And then as things started to change in the ratings and the popularity, it started to shift towards Xena. And more money started to get spent in Xena, and we started doing more and more things. For instance, you know, right off the top of my head, we did this baby Centaur, which was real simple, little simple puppet. I think that might have been for the last Centaur episode. Other monsters that we did were the Grendels, where they did that whole 3-part series of, you know, Spirit and Magic Helmet, what have you, with Xena. And that was a crazy monster. I mean, Rob wanted this giant tree creature. I have a friend who's a super farmer. His name's Roger Morrissey, 7'4". And I said, well, Roger should play the main guy. All right, here we go. Finally got our monster suit in my camera. Here we are.
Hello.
Roger Morrissey's here in New Zealand with us, putting him a big scary monster. They met with Roger and they went, yeah, this guy's a big guy. So we built the suit, and the monster stood, I think, almost 9 feet tall. And it was huge. It was built so fast. I mean, lightning speed, because it was this or that, or the designs changed. It was a million and one things that we were literally piecing it together every single day. I mean, every shot, something was falling off. One time the head fell off. We tried to build it. We had 2 weeks to build the darn thing, the Grendel. Then there was a baby Grendel that one of the stunt guys played. I liked that suit a lot because it was smaller and easier to deal with. Like the big Grendel, like trying to reach up, get a ladder, and put the head on, like roll, roll, roll. But that monster was cool. Those monsters were cool. I remember they showed up in a giant crate. We cracked them open, you know, looked at them and went, got a lot of work to do. But like I said, we had 2 weeks to throw it together, and it worked great but it just completely fell apart, and just by the end of the show, it was all in pieces because we trashed the living crap out of it. I mean, we only had time to make one suit per mama and baby, and there were stunts and fighting and jumping and kicking and smashing, and it all went to crap pretty easily, but they were cool monsters. When I heard that Xena was wrapping up, it was, you know, it was kind of bittersweet, I guess. I had a great time working on it. I knew Lucy wanted to move on. She was having, you know, she just had the baby with Rob, and she wanted to probably have another baby, which they ended up having. And she wanted to move on to other things, you know, and I didn't disagree by any means, you know. And I think I knew I was going to miss going to New Zealand big time. I knew that there'd be a lot of people that were going to be out of work, but obviously, you know, the Kiwis are inventive enough, and and probably found other things to move on to, like Lord of the Rings. And it was sad. I mean, I always looked forward to it. I always looked forward to my trips to New Zealand. I could count. It was a constant. Every year I'm going to go to New Zealand. This is great. And then that ended up not happening again. I was like, I really miss going to New Zealand. I miss my friends. I miss not seeing Richard Taylor. I miss not seeing Lucy. I miss not seeing, all these people. But, you have things to look back on. You look at the shows, and you're like, oh, that was really fun. And, photos or whatever, your footage that you shot on set. But, I think you just move on to the next thing. And even though that was a special, time, and it was a good, 7-8 years or what have you run, and you do a lot of stuff, and you gain a lot of, friendships and so forth, that, you just have to figure, okay, this is the end of the run, and we'll meet somewhere down the line, and maybe we'll do something again. You never know. But it's that way all the time. But this was just special because New Zealand is a really special place and a really magical place. And it's if I could, I would move there in a heartbeat. And but unfortunately, my world is here and I can't. But I would do it in a heartbeat. And I think it has a lot to do with those shows that we did back then, and how great the people were, and how beautiful the country was, and how amenable everybody was to everything. And I never ever, from the first day I went there, felt like I was a stranger. So I was just a loud American with a weird accent. No, over here. Listen, you know what? I asked not to shoot certain things, or it's very touchy. So, you know what? I think it's time to go. I think we've heard and seen enough of Xena, Warrior Princess. So, there you go. Thank you for coming. Have fun. Good luck. Enjoy the video.